to talk about some of the ways in which we get stuck or entangled in the field, in the quantum field, in your aura with another person's aura, in this space between not only your physical presence and being and another's, but just in general, and how this looks in the world from shifting from one reality to another, maybe more healthy reality. There tends to be these spaces between change. And I remember when I used to teach yoga, one of the common phrases would be, the truth reveals itself in the space between the breaths, or the space between the thoughts. It's just like this space where we can be silent, where we can let things reveal themselves to us rather than try to feverishly figure everything out within our mind and control things. So in this space, this moat, this upside down, this dark age, this shadowlands, the world of the upside down, whatever you want to call it, there's many ways in which we do things to self-soothe or distract ourselves, or the opposite, ways in which we can over-dominate things to try to get to that next place of security, certainty, and safety. Nobody likes to feel like they're unsafe, right? It's not the most favorite emotion or feeling that I believe humanity can experience. It's pretty obvious. The rates in which our underlying, very deep-seated fears and concerns with our own security and safety penetrate on so many layers and levels and dimensions, and we don't really see that when we're expressing ourselves in the world on the front stage, you're experiencing and acting out your life, the upstream ways in which these deep hidden insecurities and fears may be hindering some of your outcomes or impacting the relationships that you're having. So I just want to explain a little bit from my personal experience. There's many people that you can go to and watch that have a more scientific approach about the quantum field and what's happening there. You can go to different spiritual channels to learn their perspective. But we're all somewhat talking about this space of unknown, where we have the inability to see, and we can feel as though that fear of not being able to see leads to all of these tactics and strategies to try to impart a sense or a feeling of safety. And this splits and fragments, and there's just tertiary roots in everything. And it's so interesting because when I've been most recently really tapped into the field, I feel like I can see it. The ways in which we're entangled, the ways in which there's layers upon layers. It's like a net, right? Maybe the matrix, maybe the connective tissue. There's a lot going on there. And what I will say, there is an accessibility of a state of inner peace, even amongst the chaos, especially when you're looking at it out into the world. Sometimes when it's a little more close to home and it's impacting you personally, an illness, a divorce, a death in the family, something that impacts you very directly, there's this radical presence and an inescapable dynamic that comes over you because it's so very personal. And in a way that's difficult, but also in a way when things happen to us personally, it automatically imbues this sense of radical presence with yourself, right? Again, it may feel easier to look out at the world and blame particular politicians or judges or agendas or cultures of people or whatever it may be, because there's a distance, there's a space between that particular thing and you. And sometimes we feel as though when we're, let's say, we're going to become an activist for something, it feels as though we're contributing to something we believe in. Maybe it is directly impacting us, but when something is really shoved right up into your face, very personally, very deeply, you don't go outside to find your resolve. You have to stop and assess the situation and really sit with this radical presence of, okay, what am I going to do? This is one thing with activism that I have a subtle issue with, is that it seems to me that we got really good. We've gotten good at talking rhetoric, and we're stuck in this space between, okay, what are we actually going to do about it that's healthy? We can't even seem to cultivate those conversations. There's just a lack of seeing and awareness and acceptance of someone else's opinions and concepts and ideas. And we become literally blind to another perspective. And you can be talking to somebody and giving them 100 reasons as to why, you're trying to help them understand something. And it's almost like they can't compute, like they're blind to what you're saying. So when we get into these places of knowing that we want change, or we're in the middle of change, and we know we're in this space between, right? There's some people who don't even know that we're in this space between, right? They're still kind of clinging on to the old reality and fighting it. And then there's this other demographic of people who are very well aware that we're in this space of change, right? Some people call it Kali Yuga, the Dark Ages, the Shadowlands. It's a transitional space from one age to another. And some people are very well aware that we're in it, but not quite sure what to do about it. And we've cultivated these subsects of smaller spaces, echo chambers they can be called, to kind of work through and process some of the old reality and try to get more clear as to how we proceed forward. And this has served a very important purpose. Now, if we want to cultivate something healthier, the first thing we have to do in this traversing, okay, we've been here and we want to move to here. And here is this, okay, we know we're in this space, we're not quite sure what to do, let's talk about it, let's process it, let's intellectualize it, let's really go into some of this stuff. This next little piece here is really important, because this is where you leap. This is where you jump. This is where you stop talking and you say, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And in that space, this is where a tremendous amount of fear arises. It's like the 11th hour fear, because now you have no idea. Creating something new, there's no pre-existing structure of it that makes you feel safe enough to want to put yourself out there in that vulnerable way. So this is where I think we're stuck in the majority, is actually that place. It's the number one, believing that things can be different, really truly believing that there is another reality that we can create and cultivate. In fact, it already exists. I've been in places where this exists and it's thriving in a family dynamic and work cultures. First of all, you have to believe. If you're not believing, then you're never going to get anywhere. Okay. So you have to find a way to cultivate a belief. And if you're blocked to a belief, or if you're blocked to even trying, then you have to do some shadow work and understand what are the reasons and what are the circumstances that have arisen in your particular situation that have made you feel stuck, that your past is automatically always going to be your future. So there's some work there. But once you have this belief, and it's not false hope, it's not ungrounded belief. We've already tried that. That doesn't work. It's a grounded belief that, look, I can do what I want to do with the right people, and I'm going to do it. And I believe that some of these issues can be transcended with the right people. So there has to be the belief. And then once the processing occurs, once the work occurs, and you're like starting to feel more in a state of, I'm kind of ready to go, you have to be trusting, and you have to have faith, and you have to just be really willing to know that you're resilient, and that you've gotten through your entire life to this point with the resources that you had. And even though this feels like a big challenge, you're going to be okay. You're going to find what you need, and that you may even find something better for you than you really realized even existed. If you don't jump, you either stay stuck in purgatory or you go back to the old hell. And that's everybody's individual journey. I'm not here to tell you what you should do. I'm just telling you, from traversing this journey up and down a few times, I understand what it takes. And all I can say is, from my personal experience, find a way to cultivate a relationship with your feminine principle, your right hemisphere of your brain, the God of your own understanding. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't in my faith and a higher presence in God. Because if you can't cultivate those creative faculties, how can you really be willing to take the risk enough when you're completely out of control and there's no scientific data to prove and back what it is you're going to do because it hasn't been done yet? So I believe that we're at the, I don't want to say the beginning stages, but I'll say kind of the beginning stages of an academic awakening, is kind of realizing that in order for us to actually move forward, we have to face our biggest block. And that's the fact that we don't really maybe believe in a higher order of things. You're going to be paralyzed in fear, trying to control the hell out of it. And it's going to cause a lot of suffering and a lot of breakdown. So, inviting God into your life doesn't mean that your career is going to end as you know it. Doesn't mean that, it's going to improve everything, but you're going to have to also be willing to face yourself and realize the ways in which you thought you knew and you just didn't quite yet. And that's okay. It's totally great. It's the most beautiful thing that can be demonstrated right now. And there are some really interesting spiritual and academic people who are kind of treading on this material, who I really like a lot. There's been quite a few conversations with Jordan Peterson and Jonathan Pajot and John Vervaeke. Still, I love John Vervaeke. He's so incredibly analytical, even about his spirituality. And of course, an academic loves the poetic nature of big words and complex concepts. And if we could just find a way to continue to bring this down, I think this is where we'll see the most beautiful change in the world, when we can truly simplify some of these complex subjects, right? A while ago, I remember saying to somebody, I don't know if I read it or it just came through, I don't remember, but I said the new measure of intelligence is going to be the individual who can take a very abstract concept and actually ground it into implementable change. So, yeah, so faith, trust, vulnerability, knowing that you're going to be okay, knowing, being self-governing, understanding that you're strong, and that if you're not, you're going to know what to do. You have to be able to embody that to go out into a new reality that hasn't quite yet been structured yet. So thank you so much.